Hello everyone and welcome to Whimsy Wednesday. It is 86 degrees outside according to my car, so it was a nice toasty drive home. I tested out the air conditioning. It works. Working air conditioning is a good thing. I had plenty of cars without, so yay for that. I thought I would backtrack a little bit and go over my dress that I wore on Saturday, because I realized when I got done editing the video and uploading it that I didn't actually talk much about the dress. I went right into talking about what I did for the interpretation. I did spin. So I did that Instagram requirement, check. So I did spin. Let's just say it took several takes of me attempting to spin. There were some cute poses. There were some hysterical moments. They've all been deleted. So let's go back and look at my dress. Let's do this in reverse. Let's go with accessories first. Accessory that I did not wear. I was planning on wearing a kerchief style fichu. I'm saying it that way so it doesn't get confused with a fichu that comes later. So this is basically a long diamond. In this case, I rounded the edges. And you can see how I folded it here. I folded it in half, and then I folded it down and down with the intention that it was going to tuck it into my neckline and into the front as well. Now this is made out of the cotton lawn. There we go. So it would have been like that. But once I got the dress on, I decided I really didn't like the combination. So off it went. I was so tempted to throw it there. Okay, we'll just put it over there. Accessory I did wear is the cap. And I know I did a post on this. For those of you that missed it, it's back a couple weeks. But this is with the cotton voile from Dharma. It has the rolled hems on the ruffles. The base pieces are all rolled on the edges. And then I have some rolled gathers in there as well. I did not put ties on this. It really should. But I realized with the ties for my mask, that was all going to get all confused. So I opted to have ties for the mask because I've got, ears that don't do the thing. And no ties on the cap. All right, so on to my dress. So my goals for my dress were 1830s, preferably later 1830s. Something that I could do my heavier sewing for the straw in comfortably. Adjustable in that A, I hope I'm going to shrink, but B, on any given day, because of what my abdomen does, I can expand or shrink, more likely expand, several inches. So, putting this all together, went with the 1830s style, wider neckline. I have very narrow shoulders, so wider necklines don't always look that wide. Very full sleeves, and I can never say the word right. So very full sleeves, and my sleeves are actually 35 inches ungathered on the bias. The waistline is a full inch above my real waistline, though in the current state of things, I have that fat roll that sits above my waist and in my stays creates a flat point. which I'll take because that actually supports that whole scar area and it feels good. But nothing really wants to sit at my waist because there's like extra above it. So there's actually more squishy below than that whole rib cage covering area. Clara Rose, I'm trying to tell them things. Here, over there, please. Thank you, love. Okay. So the waistline is above my natural waist. Where do I want to go from here? All right, so let's talk about, oh, and then I did the crossover bodice, thinking that I could bring that in or out as needed. Okay, so, all in all, by the time I was done, 2 skirt seams and the side seams got done on the machine. Everything else got torn apart and put back together so many times. The rest is all done by hand. The skirt is, oh, I did pull some threads. Yay! It's always fun. The skirt is directional pleating. Okay. This is, which part of the crossover? So this is from like this part of my waist this way. So directional pleating around until the mid back, and that is gauged. Both are of course turned and then whipped into the waistband. I want to show you a section of both. All right, there we go. So there's the little whip stitches. I tend to do very tiny whips because of situations like in the front where I started pulling some out. There's my whips for my gauging. Okay. I want to take a peek at what I did in the front there when I started pulling those out. Wasn't that just there? Oh, it's where I tacked the bodice under the skirt. That's all that is. Okay, so I might as well talk about that. Okay, so did the skirt, bodice separate. Okay, so the bodice is piped. And then what I ended up doing is a fake waistband here. This is because of an issue I had with the front of the bodice. This is also piped on both sides. There we go. So that actually created a double pipe at the waist, the lower waist of the bodice, and that is what I basted the skirt to. It's basted in between the 2 rows of piping. And here we go. So the front portion, the crossover portion, is actually dog-legged. Okay, so this comes out to be, I believe, where's my, yeah, I'm having trouble even understanding how I did my own skirt. Okay, so this comes out like this, and this comes like this, down, down, thank you. And no, I'm so not trying this on right now. So it crisscrosses like that. And I'm realizing you can't see that very well. All right. So the skirt closes, and then the bodice closes over the top. Okay. And I ended up doing, for versatility, here we go, multiple thread loops that the hooks can hook into. So when I started the morning, I was able to put it on the smallest hook, and then if I needed to through the day, I could have relaxed it down half an inch at a time. Luckily, I didn't have to do that. I was very glad I didn't have to do that. So let's go up to my shoulder seams. So my shoulders are gathered. The bodice itself is set so that the diagonal is the grain. So vertically, as I bring this over, this way is bias. So of course there's going to be some bias sag. And this piece that I put at the bottom is actually covering a little oops with the bias sag. So then I gathered in the shoulder line here. I actually hate gathering. I would far prefer to pleat or gauge than gather. I can't tell you why. It just frustrates me endlessly. It's not exact. So that is gathered, set on the pipe, and then the piping is laid over the back piece, and then that's stitched into place. You can kind of see some of those stitches there. All right. The back of the neckline is piped. All right, created that piping on the bias, and then I turned the edge under, and that's all the way around. Now the sleeve is set on the bias. You can see that there. As I said, this is over 30 inches. It is a 3/4 length. Initially, I wanted to do a much wider cuff, but frankly, I became impatient. I was so frustrated over some of the bodice issues I had had earlier in the week. By the time I got to the sleeve, I needed it done so that I could just kind of relax before rolling into the event. The sleeve itself, I did a little differently than I normally do. Usually, I pipe the arm side and then set the sleeve inside the arm side, right sides together, and turn it right side out. This time I gathered, let me back up. This time I piped the arm side, but I also piped the sleeve itself by gathering the sleeve and then setting it on the piping. And then that piece of piping is simply turned to the inside of the sleeve. Okay, and I just kind of tacked it down to give it a little more finish. And I was able to set this second piping adjacent to the arm side piping and then just do a running back stitch at the base of this piping to set it into the second piping. Gotta say, this was so much easier and less frustrating than the way I've been doing this for 20 years. So I'm gonna be doing more of that. I really liked that technique. 21st century problem. This is the back of my neckline. This is my bad posture. This is the posture that I'm getting from being on the computer and on my phone far too much. My posture sucks. I'll be honest, most of our posture sucks. Look at how I'm sitting now. So that's that. And this is with a very low neckline. I'm afraid to see what it's going to look like when I do a jewel neckline for my 1850s dress. You trying to make me feel better? Say Clara doesn't have bad posture like mommy? All right, here we go. Come on. I know. There's birds out there. Go get those birds. Just let you have some cat butt there. There we go. I'm gonna close your curtain. All right, so let's see. We did arm side. The cuffs are simply on the grain cuffs. These are just strips gathered in by hand, quick running stitch, turn, and another running stitch. Like I said, those are quick and easy. Oh, those extra little strips going on over here. So when I, here, okay. So when I put in the V, without the strip, let's just say the V is quite the V. My stays were visible at that point. So I wanted to add a little more modesty because I knew I was going to be sitting, and when I sit, there's more going on there. So I added these strips up into the shoulder temporarily, and I actually tacked it to my stays, which I'm going to advise not to do because as I moved and there was some shifting during the day, it did pull a bit. I'm going to end up putting this all back on, and I will be able to tack this into the neckline, and it's just going to look like a bias layering when I'm done with that. Quick little fix. This does not yet have a pocket. It will have a pocket. Again, I ended up rushing. So pocket will go here. It's got its little pocket spot. My pockets generally are not very long pockets. I'm going to say at most 12 inches because my arms are short. Can't reach that far. Short arms, short fat hands. We have limits. All right, so let's get down to the hem. This has a hem facing. There are other words I've been hearing. They're modern, reenactorisms, etc. And this is the hem tape. All right, so this is, I first hand stitched the bottom of the facing. I let it fall. I press under the edge. I overcast or do a hem stitch at different words I've heard for that. I don't do the pretty little X's. I had never seen the pretty little X's that folks are using. So Little Miss loves wool, which is what the hem tape is. So the hem tape is wool. Here you can see there are two different types here. Gotta remember which one's which. This is the vintage, and this is the new from Needle and Thread. I'll grab a separate non-Clara photo of that, and I'll add that to the post. I did not cast over the raw edge. I've got some frames, so I'm going to have to take care of that. Oh, the reason that I combined the two different tapes. When the tape from Needle and Thread was getting picked up, I was planning on my 1850s rose dress and this dress. But this dress with only a 150-inch skirt. There were some tears as I tried to set 150 inches into my new waist measurement, and it felt flat, painfully flat. As someone who started reenacting at a 29-inch waist, I don't have a 29-inch waist anymore. So yeah, I had some moments there. So I decided to set in another half panel, bringing it up to 180 inches, which meant the 150-inch length from Needle and Thread needed a supplementary 30 inches. Luckily, I happen to have a vintage set of 30-inch tape. Interestingly enough, something you should know, there are the packets that say 5 yards. They even say 5 yards guaranteed. I have yet to have a 5-yard guaranteed package still be 5 yards. I do not know if the wool simply shrunk over time, or if at one point whoever measured it had a different tape measure. I don't know. That is giving some benefit of the doubt. But I've yet to have 5 yards be 5 yards. So you'll want to know that. All right, what are we missing, Miss Clara? Okay, I think that covers most of the dress construction. It is a shirting. So it's a semi-sheer. It does drape very differently than other fabrics. It's a little closer to a lawn. This is asymmetrical. I would not recommend an asymmetrical plaid to anyone who doesn't have some experience or have really good mental geometry. Doesn't faze me too much. I guess that's it. It's lined just with muslin. That's what I tend to line mine with. The dress, all in all, was incredibly comfortable. Almost to a fault. Like, I got through the whole day and it was a nice, good, warm day. And I wasn't in a rush to get out of my dress. Oh, okay. So, I have flabby arms. Yes, I just did that on camera. I have larger arms, thanks to genetics. And I also prefer snugger arm size, meaning I like my arm size up high. This comes from early on in my whole interpretive experience. I did a lot of games for the museum, including playing graces. And you needed to be able to very easily lift those arms to play graces. And if you don't know what graces are, they're the two sticks that you cross with an X, and you have the big hoop with all the ribbons, and you throw the hoop with the sticks. You also catch with the sticks. So I had to be able to, reach. So it was very important for me to be able to lift my arms, and having that tight arm side was important. So I still prefer a tight arm side, but the fat gets in the way. So there's a couple things that I've done, kind of works. I'll actually do a little box pleat at the bottom seam here. The box pleat will be in the sleeve itself. Usually works nicely for getting it on and being comfortable through the day. But if it's a very hot, sweaty day or a humid day, as your body swells and fabric does what fabric does, it still can be very difficult to get out of. This dress, on the other hand, I didn't do the arm side quite as tight because I know I wanted a lot of range of motion for working with my straw. And then I did the really big sleeves. Gotta say, getting this dress off was not as much of a challenge as some other dresses. Other dresses, it's like you need a video camera because I will be like spinning in backwards circles trying to like tug my sleeve off. And what I do is I actually try to grab here, or I try to grab, that's what I'm trying to do, grab this part of the fabric right where the flab is to pull. I've been known to pull stitches out of that. So I guess that's the good, the bad, and the dirty of some of the dressmaking situations. I think that covers my dress. If you have any other dress questions, again, just a dress to do some work in, simple. My first take on an 1830s dress, so please be forgiving of some things I might have screwed up. I'm totally welcoming to tips or tidbits or have you tried thises. If you're a jerk, I'll delete you. That's the great thing about this. I guess that's it. I do have some nifty, crafty, projecty things coming up for y'all. And that'll be hopefully soon. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your week. Get out and enjoy some weather if you have good weather. And I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Okay, let's try that again. Bye-bye.